Deregulation, competition, and consolidation. UK's banking industry has seen a radical transformation with the market liberalization by deregulation and the resultant competition. The Building Societies Act of 1986 permitted building societies to widen their financial services to include insurance and allowed building societies to convert into banks. Life insurance firms moved into banking and banks diversified into mortgages and insurance. Mergers and acquisition has been the other transformational force in the UK banking industry. Till the late 1960s, retail banking was dominated by the Big Five: Barclays, Lloyds, Midland, National Provincial, and the Westminster Bank, while Midland Bank was acquired by Hong Kong and Shanghai Banking Corporation to create the current HSBC. National Provincial merged with the National Westminster and was later acquired by the Royal Bank of Scotland. In the meanwhile, Halifax and the Bank of Scotland merged to form HBOS, presently in Europe's biggest cross-border banking deal. Santander Central Hispano of Spain acquired ABI. Further, banks' diversification into new product areas has resulted in a number of cross-sector mergers where banks are beginning to acquire life insurers. All this has ensured that while the total number of UK-owned banks has declined from 400-odd banks to less than 100, the average size and financial strength of a bank increased. The number of building societies, which account for around a fifth of personal deposit and mortgages in the country, have decreased. Technological developments. UK's banking industry, following global trend, has evolved with technology. According to our research firm, UK's bank currently lead Europe in IT spending with 2006 figures of $20 billion US. For 2004 to 2008, the compound annual growth rate of IT spending by UK banks is 8.1%. The emergence of e-banking technology is the biggest single factor driving the growth in European banks. IT spending and the online channel will remain the foremost in terms of IT investment growth in 2006. Most banks prefer to follow a multi-delivery channel strategy, providing customers access through the internet, ATM, and call centers. Between 1994 and 2004, the ATM network doubled to 50,000. Banking system of UK. The banking system refers to the networks of personal and business bank accounts that help deposit and lend consumers money. Different aspects of the banking system include high street banks, providing services to the general public. Business banking. Many high street banks provide specialized services for businesses. They operate similar to ordinary accounts but usually have more services and more fees. Investment banking. These are financial institutions who invest money on behalf of investment trusts, pension fund, and high street banks. They look for the best way to invest money through knowledge of different bond markets, exchange rate markets, and the stock markets. Central banks. Underpinning most modern banking system is a central bank, usually a quasi-government organization. Central banks have various tasks such as ensuring sufficient liquidity, acting as lender of last resort, and in some cases, settling monetary policy. In the UK, the Bank of England is responsible for monetary policy. Independent retail banks. The table shows the main independent British retail banks in order of the market capitalization. The list is quite short as British banking has been highly consolidated since the early 20th century. Unlike some other major economies, the UK does not have a major stratum of independent local banks. Bank. Lloyds Banking Group. Headquarters. City of London. Market value 44.3. Total assets 119,576. Top 5 banks of the United Kingdom. United Kingdom has produced some of the best banks in the world. Most of the banks in the UK are MNCs. The top 5 banks in the United Kingdom have 90% market share. Banking industry in the UK saw many mergers and acquisitions in the 20th century. This has resulted in huge banking companies. HSBC, Hong Kong and Shanghai Banking Corporation, has its headquarters in London and is the largest banking and financial services group in the world. According to Forbes magazine, the bank has operation in more than 80 countries. Lloyds Banking Group plc. Lloyds is a reliable brand in the UK. Lloyds TSB acquired HBOS to form this banking behemoth. This bank has its headquarters in London and is the largest retail bank in UK. This group also has the largest branch network in the UK. Standard Chartered Bank. This British financial services giant has its headquarters in London and has operations in more than 70 countries all over the globe. It employs more than 80,000 people all over the world and is listed in many reputed stock exchanges. Barclays. This MNC has businesses all over the world. Barclays was accused by NGO Global Witness of violating international anti-laundering laws. Royal Bank of Scotland Group. Based in Edinburgh, Scotland, RBS Group is a state-owned banking and insurance holding company. The banking sector in the United Kingdom has gone through a number of changes in the last few years, after being stable for decades. This has been the result of the credit crunch. Traditionally, the banking sector was dominated by the big four banks, Barclays, HSBC, formerly Midlands, now owned by the Hong Kong-based HSBC, and Lloyds and NatWest. There were two large Scottish banks, the Bank of Scotland and the Royal Bank of Scotland. Although these tended to have little presence in the larger English market, there were also a number of mutually owned building societies, many of whom has demutualized and becoming banks. The internet and government deregulation meant that many foreign banks and set up a presence in England, mainly aired and savings accounts. All of these banks had extensive foreign banking operations as well as business banking operations and wholesale merchant and investment banking subsidiaries. The Bank of Scotland and Royal Bank of Scotland were well known for this business lending, where Barclays was and still is known for Barclays Capital, a merchant banking arm. The full range of retail banking services were offered by all the big English and Scottish banks, including share dealing, private banking, and personal loans. Today, banks in Britain have most of the same names on the high street as they had for 30 years, but their owners are different and more concentrated.